A long, long time ago, after God created the world and all the animals, He made the very first people. Their names were Adam and Eve, and they lived in a beautiful place called the Garden of Eden. The Garden of Eden was like the most magical garden you could ever imagine. It had tall trees, colorful flowers, soft grass, and lots of yummy fruits. There were animals everywhere, from playful monkeys to gentle deer, and everything was peaceful. Adam and Eve didn't have to worry about anything because God had made the garden just for them. Adam's special job. God gave Adam a special job. He was in charge of naming all the animals. So Adam would look at a creature with a long neck and say, "I'll call you a giraffe." And then he'd see another with a big mane and say, "You're a lion." Adam loved naming all the animals and taking care of the garden with Eve by his side. One important rule. God told Adam and Eve, "You can eat from any tree in the garden except one." This tree was called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. God told them not to eat from it because it wasn't safe for them. It was a special rule to protect them. Adam and Eve were happy to live in the garden and follow God's instructions. But one day, something tricky happened. The sneaky snake. A sneaky snake came into the garden and started talking to Eve. "Did God really say you can't eat from any tree?" the snake asked in a sneaky voice. Eve replied, "We can eat from all the trees, but God said not to eat from the tree in the middle of the garden, or we will die." But the snake was very tricky and said, "You won't die. If you eat the fruit, you'll be like God and know good and evil." Eve looked at the tree and saw that the fruit looked delicious. She listened to the snake and decided to take a bite. Then she gave some to Adam and he ate it too. What happened next? As soon as they ate the fruit, Adam and Eve realized they had made a mistake. They felt different and knew they had disobeyed God. They tried to hide from God in the garden, but God knew what had happened. God called out to them, "Where are you?" Adam and Eve came out of hiding and told God what they had done. They were sorry, but there were consequences for disobeying. God's promise. Even though Adam and Eve had to leave the Garden of Eden, God still loved them very much. He promised to take care of them and their family. God wanted them to remember that even when they made mistakes, He would always be there for them. Adam and Eve learned that trusting God and following His rules was the best way to live, and they went on to start the first family in the world.